Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back here. It's a little bit surreal. I couldn't have been more surprised to get asked to be here. I've had a unique experience. I've been able to travel the world climbing and skiing and use that as an excuse to interact with different cultures and experience different landscapes all over the globe. And it's not really a path that I ever really expected, nor one that I aspired to. It's been more of an evolution than anything. After Middlebury, I moved to Salt Lake City and began ski patrolling there, and with a group of friends just started backcountry skiing. And really the sense of adventure and exploration and really seeing what we were capable of became intoxicating. But throughout my career in the mountains, one thing that I've found always very frustrating is how the media portrays the people and the achievements within the outdoor industry. The people are often portrayed as these larger-than-life superhuman characters, and their achievements are portrayed as something that's completely out of our reach, that we're these mere mortals, and we'd never be able to achieve such feats. But it's been my observation, that what really sets these people apart isn't necessarily their superhuman capabilities. No one has X-ray vision, or they can't jump mountains with a single bound. But what they do have is the willingness to start down a path towards a goal, and no matter what obstacles lie between them and that goal. And really, we're all driven towards success, but one of the things that holds us back most is that fear of failure. But we all have a learning process, no matter how high we get in our fields. And really, it's quite often the people who have achieved the most in their field are the ones who have suffered the most failures and the greatest amount of setbacks. And what sets those people apart, though, is that they're not deterred by that. They use it as motivation, and they use it as a learning experience so that they can better achieve success down the road. But really, the hardest part of any journey is to take that first step, to commit. And once you make that commitment towards reaching that goal, there's a certain amount of inertia that follows afterwards. So for me, there could be no greater commitment, no greater leap of faith than for two of my friends and I to jump on a plane and get dropped off in the middle of nowhere in Alaska for a month. We chose the Fairweather Range, which despite its name is host to some of the world's worst weather and is almost 100 miles from the nearest town of Haines. We were like the Three Stooges. I mean, we were the blind leading the blind out there. That's me on the right, my friend BJ, and Dana Drummond, who was All-American skier here for Middlebury, go Mid, yesterday, and graduated with me. But, it was truly trial by, we were out there learning from all of our mistakes. We had no idea what we were doing. We had no idea how much food it takes to feed three of us for a month on a glacier. We had no idea how much whiskey we would need. We ended up bringing more than we needed. We had no idea, how to build snow walls to prevent our tents from drifting in. I had to learn how to sit out a week-long blizzard. I had a sneaking suspicion, but I confirmed that rock climbing without ropes and ski boots is not my idea of a good time. But you have to confirm some of these things, right? We learned how to travel in glacial terrain. We learned where to climb, when to climb. I have a belief that beginner's luck is fate getting its hooks in you. It's just giving you enough success to entice you further down your path. After 3 weeks, we were faced with a predicament that we never anticipated, which was we had pretty much climbed and skied everything in sight. And so we decided, well, you know what? let's try and ski back to Haines. We heard that some local mountain guides had done it a few years prior. You know, they had local knowledge, they had years of preparation, and they had detailed maps. We had none of these, but we decided, you know, what the heck, let's go for it. And I'm not sure if it was really arrogance, ignorance, dangerous combination of the two that drove us to try and ski back, but what I am sure of is that we knew it would be a huge challenge, and we wanted to see if we were up for it. So we loaded up our sleds, and armed with far too little food and a 1 to 250,000 scale map with 500-foot contour intervals, we set off into the great white unknown. 7 days, 120 miles, and one 30-mile detour later, we emerged back in, this is civilization in Alaska. And I remember being giddy with excitement because despite the enormous amount of luck, we all realized that the ski mountaineering thing was something that not only that we could do, but we might actually be pretty good at it. So the following spring, Dana and I decided to head to Peru. We heard tales of enormous mountains rising out of lush green valleys and cultural experiences. So we head down to the Cordillera Blanca, which in the mountaineering realm have a ferocious reputation for both their altitude. They're at about 6,000 meters or around 20,000 feet and above, and their extremely technical nature. Well, we figured that within an entire mountain range, there's got to be a few things to ski, and there were, but they were few and far between and extremely daunting. Unfortunately, my partner Dana became ill and was forced to retreat to Juarez, where he received a series of injections that we still to this day are not sure of what they were. And so I was left by myself to just continue climbing and skiing by myself, soloing. And soloing in its essence is a very selfish endeavor. You know, when you're out there doing it, your thoughts are on no one but yourself and what you're doing at that moment. You know, your whole purpose for being there is self-driven. But because of that, it's also an extremely personal experience. There's no one to rely on but yourself. You have to know exactly what your capabilities are and operate within them. You know, your margin for error is razor thin. I was extremely happy when Dana got better and started climbing and skiing with me again, and I had this realization that while I was soloing, there was always this sensation of a void. There was something missing, and that something missing was an interaction with someone. You know, we're social creatures. We thrive off our interactions with one another, and instead of getting to the top of a mountain and high-fiving, you know, or getting to the bottom of a face and skiing back to your tent and drinking whiskey, instead, you know, you go through that whole process on your own. You all those critical decisions. You get to the bottom of a face like this, and you just look back up it and ski away, and you go back to your tent, and instead of drinking whiskey, you brew up a cup of tea and sit and stare at the mountains and reflect on the day. But when you're with a partner, you get to experience the highest highs and the lowest lows with that person. You know, you truly get to share that experience. You are two beings working in concert towards a common goal. That person becomes an extension of you. When you can't go any further, they allow you to keep moving, keep going. When we left Peru, without really trying to or realizing it, we ended up skiing some of the most technical ski descents in the world. And, you know, but it's the next 8 years of my career in the mountains, really, where my summits are fewer and further between, and my notable ski descents are the same. But it's the period where I feel that I've grown most as an athlete, as a skier, as a climber, as a person. You know, maybe I'm just getting older. This is Dana. I think, you know, we all develop a fascination with something in life, whether it be a person, an event, an idea, an object, and this mountain really captivated me. This is the Lhotse Couloir, and its location, its altitude, its technical nature, but most of all, the aesthetics of this mountain just immediately captivated me. And Lhotse is the 4th highest mountain on Earth, and it sits directly adjacent to Mount Everest. This is actually taken from the Mount Everest, and I knew I immediately had to go try and climb and ski it. And despite what I would consider a serious lack of experience, I was given an opportunity, so I took it. The thing with Lhotse is it shares the same climbing route with Mount Everest until between camps 3 and 4, the two routes split from one another. So what I did is I traded my services as a guide, shuttling clients up through the Khumbu Icefall and up to as high as Camp 3. In return, they gave me a permit and basically a chance to achieve this dream. When I showed up in base camp, everyone told me I was crazy. No one's going to ski this couloir, not to mention someone we've never heard of. But after about 6 weeks, I was finally given my chance. You know, we'd done 6 weeks of ascending, descending, taking people, shuttling guests, climbers through the ice fall and allowing them to acclimatize. And when they were making their summit push, I was able to sneak away and make my own attempt on Lhotse. Again, I was climbing alone. I was climbing in the middle of the night with hopes to summit at dawn. It was a surreal experience. You're all by yourself on this mountain in this couloir. The only sound is the wind howling outside and the spin drift pouring down on top of you. I could look across and see a line of headlamps, like early morning traffic, heading up the southeast ridge towards the summit of Mount Everest. I was actually feeling remarkably strong, and I began to get concerned that I might actually summit too early, and that would force me to ski the mountain in the middle of the night, which, because it's so steep and technical, I wasn't looking forward to. But about 1:30 a.m. And about 200 meters beneath the summit, disaster struck. My regulator on my oxygen system failed, and I basically listened to my chances of reaching my goal disappear into the rarefied atmosphere. It was almost like an out-of-body experience, you know. I was almost like this omnipotent being looking down on this happened to someone else, and the only thing I could think was, wow, that sucks, you know? I was so close to achieving this goal, and really, I knew the right thing to do, but I was just wondering if that person, that climber down there, was going to come to the same conclusion. I'd already had pulmonary edema on the trip, so I put my skis on, and I began my descent. And you're above 27,000 feet with no oxygen, and skiing is an anaerobic sport, so it was a very slow, calculated descent, one turn at a time. When I got to base camp, the very same people who were telling me that it was impossible, when they heard how high I got, were all of a sudden planning their return with skis themselves, which obviously amused me. 4 years later, I had the opportunity to return on a fully funded North Face expedition with a close friend of mine, Chris Erickson. And again, we were turned around, despite outstanding conditions, feeling super strong, good weather window. We got pulled into a rescue, and just through the rescue efforts, I taxed my body, and we tried to continue up, but I again developed pulmonary edema and was again forced to descend. This is looking up the Lhotse face, so you have about a 2,000-foot couloir and about the 5,000 feet of the Lhotse face. So I often get asked, you know, how it feels to come so close to reaching one of your dreams, only to come up short. Is it heartbreaking? You know, they ask, and the answer is absolutely. It's heartbreaking, it's disappointing. At the same time, I feel like I'm extremely lucky. I've had the chance not only once, but twice to achieve one of my dreams, something that, according to all rational thought, probably should be outside of my abilities. And it's my firm belief that the only thing you can really take with you in this life, the only thing that's truly yours, are your experiences. And to me, the experiences which are most indelible are the ones where I've put myself furthest from my comfort zone, whether it be culturally, physically, emotionally. And quite often those experiences are not the ones where I've reached the summit, but they're the ones where I've come up short. Because success is often like a check on a list, you know. You achieve your goal and you move on. But when you come up short, you know, you're forced to scrutinize the events leading up to that failing. You decide what you could have done differently. You decide if there's anything that could have changed the outcome and what was really out of your control. You know, you turn it into a learning experience in order to better achieve success in the future. And to me, one of the most courageous things you can do in life is to truly give 100%. And to give 100%, for me, I have to come up short. If I reach the summit, you know, who knows? I could have left something in the tank. There could have been something left there. You know, I could have gone higher. I could have gone further, faster, whatever. But it's when you're forced to turn around, that's where you know where your limits truly lie. And to truly find what you're capable of doing or incapable of doing is a very humbling yet profound experience. To me, I think one of the greatest gifts you can have in life is to truly know yourself. And you're not going to get that through living a life of comfort. You're going to have to put yourself in stressful situations. You're going to have to put your back up against the wall. You're going to have to be willing to give 100%. And most of all, you're going to have to be willing to fail. So, you know, I don't go into the mountains in order to feel big or powerful or inflate my ego. I go to the mountains to feel small. I go to the mountains to feel humble. I go to the mountains to challenge myself. But most of all, I go to the mountains to learn about myself. Thank you very much.